Hey y'all, I'm Brad of Brave the Woods. In this very first episode of Draw With Me, you and I are going to illustrate the adorable, lovable, little green character that the world has fallen in love with, Baby Yoda. And we're going to do it in just 5 simple steps. I love Baby Yoda, and I've already done multiple drawings of the little fella, but this time I want you to draw along with me. Everybody can draw, so take whatever tools are most comfortable to you and use those. That could be pen and paper, that could be markers, that could be whatever you want, that could be on the computer. I'm going to be using the iPad Pro, and I'm going to be using the Procreate app. So if you want to follow along, that's what I'm going to be using, but let's go ahead and get started. All right, so step number 1, we need to start with a sketch. Sketching is just a nice, loose, easy, flowing process that we don't have to get hung up on too much, because the main idea is that we're just finding the major shapes and trying to get the right scale and placement. That's all we're doing with the sketching. So if you're doing this analog, yours might look a little looser than mine because I'm doing it on a computer or I'm doing it on my iPad here, and it just looks a little cleaner. But never mind that. We just need to get the main shapes. So I need to open up a reference image of this cute little Baby Yoda. And if I can ever I can't get that to swipe on the first time. I don't know if anybody else has that issue, but I can never get that to swipe up on the right time. You have to hold that, bring that over, and voila, we have our Baby Yoda reference image, and he is just as cute as ever. Look at that little guy. I don't know how they made him so cute, because he's really an ugly species, but he's just a cute little baby. But we're going to draw him, and we're going to draw him just in a very simple pose to make this real easy on us. Straight ahead, symmetrical, real simple. But I'm going to go ahead, and the nice thing about the iPad is that you get the option to, again, my fingers, I feel like my fingers are too fat. Maybe that's what it is. I never thought I had fat fingers until I tried to use this. I'm going to move this over to the side so we can see our little reference image. And what I'm looking for first is just main shape. So he's got a little circle head maybe. And however you want to stylize your own or whatever you're seeing, draw that. This is just how I'm drawing it. So I'm going to see that head first. And I'm going to see it as this nice little oval here. Okay, so for the ears, I want to make the ears go up because I want him to just be a little happier. A little happier guy. And then I'm going to bring his little ears up here. Let's do this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Looks like happy little ears. And then let's do his little, whatever you call that. What is that he wears? Like a little robe, tunic, clothing, whatever it is. It's huge on him and it makes his head look extra tiny, which I love, and his ears look extra big. So I'm going to kind of start it out here maybe. And again, these are basic shapes, so I don't have to worry about all the little details and the rounding off of anything. I'm just going to worry about getting the basic shape. So I'll kind of do this little curved area right here. And then drop his shoulders down. Now I'm going to actually shrink this up a little bit. Bring it up so I have more room to work with. So I'm going to bring his little shoulders down. That looks pretty good. I'm going to go in a little bit and just make a little box. Maybe slightly tapered out. A little bit tapered out. For his body. And then that way it'll be easier to draw his little sleeves. Now I like them tapered out a little bit. I don't know, maybe it makes it look a little cuter. Looks a little different than just having a nice, just super blocky. So I can erase some of that, maybe. So again, don't feel like you have to stick with any one thing for too long. You can mess with it. And then I'm going to give him little sleeve cuffs. Little cuffs. Like that. And then maybe we'll give him little fingers. We don't have to do a lot. Drawing hands sucks, but with this little guy, you can just draw maybe like little. Those look kind of weird. Why do those look too big? Okay, we'll do this. And we'll make all this look better right now. Right now it looks a little creepy, especially when we're going to put these eyes on here. I feel like it's going to look a little creepy. But that's okay. We're going to do kind of almond-shaped eyes. I want them to be pretty big. I think that's what makes him pretty cute. Okay. Make his other eyeball. Also, what I'm thinking of doing is probably just draw the bottom of the ears up to the other ear you'll notice that that curve, because what I'm thinking about doing is just taking this off right here, and now his little face is hidden under there. I went ahead and cleaned up my sketch just a little bit more because our next step, step number 2, is filling in the main shapes with just flat fields of color. So I went ahead, and if you look at the little guy right here, I decided on some colors. I wanted some pinks and greens and tans. So I'm going to get rid of this for a second so we have the full screen to work with. Up in the top right, you have your colors. And right down here, you can see I've already set up a palette out of the ones I want, the colors that I'd like to use on this. And if you're using Procreate on this, the palettes are super nice in Procreate 5. You can go ahead and just set your defaults, whichever one. So I have multiple projects with different palettes. And right now I want to see Baby Yoga. Baby Yoda. Different. Then go to Classic, and you'll see them right here, and I can just use those. Now, the brushes I've been using, I forgot to mention this. If you want to follow along and do exactly what I'm doing in Procreate, I'm using the Woodland Wonderland pack, which I originally made with Retro Supply for Photoshop, but now they're available on Procreate. Thin pencil's the one I've been using. And now, I think I want to use the Gouache 2 for some colors. But what we'll do here with the sketch here is I'm going to just reduce the opacity here. We're going to go underneath it. So we're going to add one. I'm going to drop it underneath there. And let's figure out what are our color situations here. All right, so all we have to do is just start filling in these main shapes. Now I know that looks kind of crappy, but we're going to have it kind of snap. Or if you just want to go in there and just color it in, sometimes that's more fun. And it adds a little bit more of a unique edge to things, so you don't have such a clean edge. And sometimes it's kind of a trick I use is I'll have a really tight undersketch or oversketch, I guess, whatever I'm doing on here. And then I'll just draw over it so it looks a little messier, but it's still exactly where I want it, and just feels a little bit more organic and less computerized when I do it that way. Okay, so now I'm going to start on his little clothing, which I'm going to do with this tan color here. And I'm going to do this on another layer because I want these separate, because later I can do like a clipping mask type of thing here, which would be really nice. Okay, so now that I have it all filled in, now this is where you can go in and use the eraser tool or whatever, and I'm going to go back to my shirt layer. And now I can add like the little details that I'd like to do. Maybe I want this rounded off a little bit on the top here, so it feels more organic. And maybe, I could even add a little bit here. So basically once you've done the major shapes, then you can go in and add extra little details to make it really feel real. I'm going to go in and just add like this little cuff here type of thing around, just so it looks a little bit more dimensional. It's like poofed up over the edges. And if you want to add more, you can erase more. And then I can go around. I'll do the same thing over here. Kind of round those edges a little bit on the cuffs. And then I think that's pretty good. Oh, no, last thing I need to do is I need to add the eyes, which is the last step. So let's add one more layer, and I'll add the eyeballs. On to step number 3. This is where we're going to add some line work. We're going to do some simple lines just to help emphasize details and distinguish some of the edges and shapes. When we take off this sketch layer, you're going to notice that things kind of like blend together. So we're going to do a few little lines and things. We can also do that with color and shading, but for a simple drawing that we're going to be doing today, it's just nice to have a few little details with line work. So I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to probably just pick this darker green here over top here. I'm going to work on his face because I want to add some of these little wrinkles and details. Not a whole lot of them, but just some of them. So I'll start by doing this little part just to show where the ear is. Okay, I think it's the shape of his ear a little bit. We can bring that over and do the same thing on this side, which is always hard to get that kind of symmetrical, but we're going to try our best. Bring that down there and bring a little bit of the ear. We'll connect that. And then I'm going to add a little bit of, maybe just to show the contour of his face right? I want to make sure that this, you can tell where his face ends and starts. So I'll do that. Maybe add like a couple little lines up here. Adds a little bit of wrinkles, adds a little bit of dimension. The real hard part is figuring out how many lines to do to make it so he doesn't look like an old man. That's the hardest part. Every time I draw him, it always feels like he's old Yoda. I don't want him to be. So like sometimes in the face, especially with if you're drawing, this is kind of a case for anybody if you're drawing faces, the lines need to be really light. If you want to draw an old person and you're going to draw the line work on their face, you're going to quickly realize that if you press hard at all, it's going to look like they have 1,000 lines and they're 100 years old, no matter what their age is. So you have to be kind of careful with the lines that you do. So I'm going to do another little one pop up from over here, maybe one over here. And then I'm going to start doing these little, what do you say? I'm just going to start having them kind of connect. Almost like a little spider web. And I notice he has some over his eyes. So we'll kind of do that over the eyeballs. And then maybe a couple more. So we'll kind of do, let's kind of start with this little shape up here on his head. He has that wrinkly little forehead that's pretty fun to draw. But so we're going to go like this. Maybe add another one over here. Add as many as you want. Maybe I'm not putting enough on there or I'm putting too many. Whatever you think would work a little better, by all means, you do that. I'm going to give him a nice little tiny little button nose because his nose is adorable. Maybe that's a little too low. I want to put that up a little higher. Drop that a little high right between his eyes. Makes him look so cute. I want to give him a little smile. A little tiny smile. No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have his little, kind of go down, angle that up a little bit so it looks like his little cheeks are a little chunkier. And then maybe a little bit underneath his eye. I don't want to get too carried away because then, again, like I said, it'll start looking like he's an old man. Maybe a little line back there. What are those called? Crow's feet? Means he smiles a lot. It's kind of cute. Yeah, so I think that's enough there. Maybe we give him on his fingers too while we have the green out. Let's just go ahead and add these little lines here so you got those little fingertips. You could color those in, make them look like claws. I think they're like yellowish, but they're kind of ugly and creepy, so this makes them a little cuter, just keeping the same color. And then let's go to the next color we're going to use. Let's go to this dark brown, and let's start blocking in the line work for this guy. So maybe just so we have a differentiator. We can do it with color again underneath it, but this will at least get us on the right direction here. We can thicken that up a little bit, maybe. Add that little line there. Because he's got the little fold. I'm not even sure how he puts it on. I've been studying that a lot, actually, trying to figure out what that is around his collar. How it folds in. It kind of folds in weird, but we're going to cheat and just put a line there. We know what we're doing. Let's do this. Okay, let's just have a little, just so we can see where it ends. There's a little armpit and a sleeve in. And if you put just a little, like a little V almost, it gives it a little bit of dimension. Looks like a little folded up clothes, a little tiny bit. Let's do another one right there. Another one right there. Again, you're noticing I'm not doing everything. I'm not doing every single edge. Sometimes I'll emphasize an edge by just like putting it on there if I feel like it's not reading well enough or I want to draw more attention to it. But this is just at least separating all the body parts and the pieces of the clothing. So I'm going to go down like this and give him the rest of it. So I'm going to maybe go over that again. Oh, I don't like that. It's a little harder. Okay, step number 4 is one of my favorites. It's the coloring portion. I know we've already dropped in main colors, but we're gonna do a fun little thing with colors that's very easy to do, that it looks more complicated than it is. It makes it look way cool, but you don't have to put a lot of effort in. It's a real easy, simple trick. So let's do it. We're gonna add a little dimension. Now I'm gonna build underneath these lines. Now, if you did this analog, I apologize. Should have done this and then your line work, but you could still work it in around your lines if you did that, if you didn't do it this way already. I'm going to add a layer, and what we're going to do here in Procreate is when we're adding layers, we're going to add it over top whichever one that we want to lock. So let's do his head first. I'm going to bring it down, building right over top of the green layer, And then if I tap on this, I can make it into a clipping mask. So now it's masking off only this green area. So now I'm going to pick like this bluish color. Keep my gouache brush. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. And then what I'm going to do is, see if I draw in there, it's only going to color in that area that I have specified. So the one thing to do with color, to make this feel like, you can do shadowing and everything this way, but sometimes you can get away with like kind of faking it. So if you just give the variations of the same hue, so just different values of that same hue, it kind of feels like there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more value change than there is, and it just kind of gives it a cool little effect. So I'm going to add, like, sprinkle in some blues here, maybe over the ears. I don't know what it does. It feels like it just gives it a little bit more life than what it was previous, just a flat field of color. And another thing to do, so I've already picked those colors. What I'll do is I'll actually hold on that, and then I'll just move it around a little bit. Move it down maybe a little bit darker, just a tiny bit. So you can see it's just changing that value just ever so slightly. Like there you go. So now I can add that. Maybe I want to add that near the bottom here so it looks more like there's some shadowing. But I can just kind of toy around with that, and it kind of just breaks up all the flat space and makes this look just more visually interesting. Kind of gives it a feeling of depth and whatnot. So like right there, it kind of adds a little shadow on where the sleeve is going. I can tap that again, maybe add a little lighter right there. Maybe I can add a little bit of a highlight somewhere. But yeah, you're just kind of playing around with it, just making it feel not so flat. Just an easy thing to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to this light pink. I'm actually going to make it a little lighter. And I'm going to go right back here, and I'm just going to color in faintly his little ear area. I want it to kind of blend in because his ears are a little translucent. You can kind of see through them. That might even be a little too bright. We'll see. I'm not pressing very hard on here. But you kind of get that idea that it's translucent because you still see the green coming through. So if this was backlit, again, I'm thinking way too hard for what we're doing. But just kind of telling you the thinking behind everything that I'm doing. So you get that color. I'm going to actually go a little bit, let's do this a little bit darker. And we're going to do something just around his eyes, just a little bit around his eyes. If you notice, he's got a little pink around just the eyeballs. So we'll add a little bit of pink just around there. A little bit of pink around here. Not too much to look weird. Oh, that's too much, see? Gotta tone it back. Okay, so a little bit of pink right there. That looks nice. Okay, perfect. Now, let's go to the robe. Same thing. I think I started with that, so I'm going to start with a lighter color. I'm going to do these. So I'm going to add another layer. Clipping mask. And then I'm going to fill in these areas because I think those ones on his original little robe thing are like a light tan up here. These are a different color. So we'll color that in. And then what we do again is the same thing. So we have this darker color. Kind of sprinkle it in. If I make my brush really big and I go really lightly on it, you can see how I add some cool color changes. You can also, if you want, use a different one of the brushes. Here's this other gouache. I'm actually going to change that color a little bit. Just go down a little bit. If I make it big, you can get like a scratchier one. That's one of the other brushes on here. I'm going to go back to what I had here. 18 is a little smoother. Play around with maybe some right here. Add like this would be like a shadowy area. Maybe underneath here, be a little more shadowed. And then we'll go and add just, again, different values. Lighten that up a little bit. It even adds like, sometimes there's hints of other hues in there, which is kind of cool. The little colors come through. Play on, that's fine. That's fun. Okay, now, oh, whoops. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. I'm gonna add even lighter. I'm gonna add a little highlight on here. Gives it a little bit of dimension. Look how easy that is. It makes it, give it some dimension so quickly. I love that. And then I'm gonna go down a little bit, go back to that original color underneath there. A little bit darker, right? Add that underneath. Now all we have left is step 5, which is the final details, which is gonna make this all come together. So I'm gonna start with maybe doing a little bit of the eyes. The eyes are kind of creeping me out right now. You can't really tell how cute he is yet because his eyes look like that. So we're gonna go, just gonna go on a new layer. I'm gonna maybe shrink my brush size here. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty good. And I'm gonna just add a little highlight on his eyeball right here. Instantly, he looks less creepy. He looks less like the Grudge or whatever that is. Eyes freak me out. Like, I don't like when they do things with the eyes. Okay, cool. So his little eyes looking already pretty cute. Now you can add some whites around the eyes if you want. If you go back to the original eyes and do a clipping mask. If you want on yours to kind of add some white area, you can. He looks kind of cute right there. Maybe he's looking off to the side. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like this. But what I am going to do to make his eye look a little bit more dimensional, do something really simple. So I'm just going to go and I'm going to give it, maybe I'll go to like my browns. I'm going to go really close to dark to black. I'm going to move up just a little bit. And then I'm going to see, what's that look like? Yeah, that looks pretty good. Just barely, I'm going to add like a really, maybe a bigger brush. Just a nice little highlight there. So you kind of feel like you can kind of see his eye color, but you don't have to show the whole thing. Because then as soon as you draw like that big ring around there, it looks a little bit creepy. But now he's got just a tiny bit of highlight there, and you can kind of get a hint of what the eye color will be. I think that looks great. It looks cute still. And then I'm gonna add another. Let's see, where else can I add lines? So, oh, here I'm gonna take this color right here. I'm gonna add little lines here in the ears. Oh, I'm still stuck on that, aren't I? Let's go back to my other layer. Let's draw little lines within the ears. Make it stand out a little bit. There we go. That looks pretty cute. And then maybe some hairs on his head. Little hairs. We don't have to go crazy, but maybe we do little hairs on his head. Okay. So I'm going to draw a little. If I go too dark on the hairs, it'll look kind of silly. So I'm going to add a few little hairs on there. It's already looking cuter. And what else? Oh, maybe like on here, I'm going to go grab this color, make it a little bit lighter. Maybe I'll draw some little pattern so it looks like there's some sort of texture to this robe thing that he's got going on. You can add those in really quick. But yeah, I think I'm finished here. I can fiddle around with this and play with it a little bit more. And maybe you want to or want to change some things on your own, and that's perfectly cool. But for now, I think it ended up pretty fun. Well, there we go. We've successfully drawn Baby Yoda. How did yours turn out? Did you do anything differently to make it your own? I'd love to see for myself, so please feel free to share on Instagram. You can tag me at my handle, Brave the Woods, so that I can check it out. Well, y'all are awesome. Thank you guys so much for drawing Baby Yoda with me today. I hope you guys had as much fun as I did. It's been a blast for me. And like I said earlier, everybody knows how to draw. It's just about having the guts to do it and being cool and comfortable within your own style. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you want to see more videos just like this, doing them every week, please subscribe and we'll catch you next time.